Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Metal Slug 3 playthrough. Let's take a dive in Mine.
I'll never get over how silly the fishbowl helmet looks.
Yeah, it doesn't. Well, at least they have oxygen
there
tanks.
There are a ton of ways to do oxygen masks, but the fishbowl is the only one that's low enough on detail that it works in pixel art. You know,
well, you can't beat the classics.
So I understand why it was chosen.
And
but
again, at the very least, they do have the oxygen tanks on the back, because there are too many things where they just
it's so Looney Tunes.
They just have the fishbowl helmet, and that's good enough. They don't need oxygen tanks or whatever. Just having the helmet's gonna keep them okay, you know, and all that jazz. So, you know, you take it like in Super Paper Mario, for example. You go into space, you just need a literal fishbowl on your head, and you're fine. But yeah, I don't know how you're not supposed to take damage there. I think the answer is
there was open space to the left.
I mean, yeah, granted, but that's, I guess, the one thing about Metal Slug 3. I should mention that out of the 3 games, this one's actually probably my least favorite, which I know is probably not a super popular opinion. This is a lot of people's favorite game in the series, and I can understand why. But when I go back to replay this one, I find myself that the charm of the different enemies and locations eventually wears off, and then you're just left with, okay, yeah, the zombies are cool and all, but they take like an hour to kill each, and so I'm not really having fun. And it's just like
there's kind of a similar effect for me with Ratchet and Clank 3, to be honest.
It's always the third game. You know, always the third one.
Well, I know Ratchet 3 is a fan favorite, and a lot of people love Dr. Nefarious too, but I just don't find the game as interesting as the second one, or even the first one.
Because, you know, that's actually something that I see a lot of people say about Spyro 3 and Crash 3. I mean, I haven't played those personally, but those games introduce a lot of, like, gimmicks and stuff into the gameplay. Because
I get the reason a lot of people like Crash 3 more than I get the reason a lot of people like Ratchet 3, because Ratchet 3 has sort of a design monotony problem is what puts me off from it. It becomes more linear, more shooter focused, and loses a lot of what I feel made the first 2 games unique, both design-wise and in terms of story.
And regarding Spyro, the main problem with Spyro 3 was that they ran out of ideas on what to do with Spyro, and they were really limited on him being a quadruped. So they made all these new characters to do things Spyro normally couldn't do.
Yeah, it was actually, I think, the reason they made Ratchet was that they wanted a character who wasn't limited the way Spyro was, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah.
But
you can see a lot of the influence of the Spyro series in Ratchet, though. The skill points are still in there, for example.
It's just, I find it funny that it's always the third game in whatever series it is that always tries to go all experimental and have all these crazy gimmicks, you know.
It's not always the third game.
It happens enough for it to be a pattern, you know.
Yeah, it happens enough for it to be a pattern, but in Jack's case, I would call it the second game is what did that, and the third game kind of zeroed back in somewhat on what made Jack interesting in the first place, but only somewhat. It still had too much vehicle stuff going on, especially in the early game.
We need to get back to that franchise at some point.
At some point. I thought about recording Jak 2 at one point, I seriously did, but then I realized Jak 2 is aged like what's a thing that ages badly? Think of a random thing that ages badly. Milk.
Your girlfriend. There.
Hey. I guess I'll do it then.
Feel free if you want to.
Apparently, the PS4 port of Jak 2 is really bad, though, for a couple.
Well, I was just gonna use the PS3 collection I had.
The PS3 ports of all the Jak and Ratchet games have problems. None so much as Deadlocked, though. Ratchet Deadlocked is a sight to behold.
Is that one of the PSP games, or...?
No. It was a PS2 spin-off after Ratchet 3, and honestly, it's a really good game. I would recommend getting the PS2 version of it, if you can, because it's a sort of an action-focused shooter platform... Well, shooter action-focused character game thing. It's a really fun action game with a pretty fun story that does that. It's worth it more if you've played at least the first 2 games, though. The thing about the PS3 release, though, there's so many bugs, graphical ones, like Vox's teeth being on the outside of his mouth frequently.
Yeah.
Or that one very infamous bit where Ratchet's face in a close-up clips through the camera, and you can see the inside of his model.
Yeah, you're only normally supposed to see that stuff on like Boundary Break or whatever. Yeah.
It's almost worth it. It's almost worth getting that HD remaster just so you can see the technical fuckery in action, but
Porting games is not easy. I'll just put it that way. Like
well, you know, Ratchet and Clank 1 as an HD port was fine for the most part. It just had a few irritating bugs like the oxygen thing not going off screen after it appears, or the final boss music not playing for some reason.
Yeah, I think that people are like, oh, you can just port it to Switch, it's easy, and it's like, no, you can't just port it to Switch, it's not easy. Like, that's not how things work. Imagine if you're trying, it's like, you know how sometimes when you copy and paste something from a web page to Microsoft Word, and it becomes all like
the
scrambled
formatting gets weird,
and it takes a lot of work to fix that? You know, imagine that times 10, and that's porting a video game.
To use an even more likely example, you know how sometimes you go to old websites and whatever programming the website uses doesn't know how to display quotation marks anymore, so it just gives you a box with a question mark in it,
or it becomes like, oh, quote, blur, blur, blur. Which is
or it replaces the quotation marks with like weird random symbols.
Okay. Yeah.
It's that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. And then you'd have to individually fix all of that.
Sometimes the coding and the hardware and everything just doesn't match up.
It's a thankless job, for sure.
In the PC version of Mass Effect's case, and this is the reason I actually recorded the console version for that game when we did it, if you have an AMD CPU in your machine that's newer than a certain year, the CPU doesn't have a certain instruction set for 3D graphics. So a whole area of the game, I think it's Novaria, the lighting engine goes bug nuts. And it just doesn't, you get like, I think it's like black shadow boxes over things, and the only way to play the level without that visual obstruction is to use the developer console to shut the lighting engine off for the duration of the area.
Yeah, that happens a lot with PC games, especially if you try to play like old stuff on new hardware. Like, it'll speed up weirdly and all sorts of other crazy stuff.
Yeah, the reason in this case is pretty straightforward. Old AMD CPUs had a specific instruction set called 3D Now, I think it was called, and newer AMD CPUs phased that instruction set out, but the game will still look for the instruction set if you're using an AMD CPU, regardless of whether it's a newer one or not. And if it can't find it, stuff happens.
Yeah. When a computer generally is trying to look for something that doesn't exist, it
just freaks out.
It freaks out. It can go anywhere from crashing entirely to just going really wonky and weird, but amusing ways.
The very concept of Skynet kind of makes me laugh, because computers are idiots that need specific instructions for literally everything they do. And if they don't have specific instructions and don't know what to do, well, they can't do anything.
It's weird. They're really way smarter at some things, but dumber than us at almost everything else.
Smarter.
I apologize, robot overlords, for when you do take over one day.
Smarter is the wrong. It is the wrong way to describe it.
More efficient, I think, is the thing.
Yeah, they can calculate quickly, and you can have instructions on what calculations do what, you know. But in order for a computer to actually be intelligent, it would have to be able to rewrite itself on the fly. You know, it would have to be able to give itself instructions, essentially. So
And then we gotta seal it away for 30 years to make sure it's reliable.
Oops, I accidentally put in 300. Oh well. That's fine, right? That won't cause any problems, I hope.
Why must Reploids fight? God damn it, that bug's coming again.
Actually, you say that. But if X were sealed away for much longer, we wouldn't have the X series or Zero series for that.
Yeah, Zero
Which means that things would have been better. Cause if
Zero likely would have destroyed the world.
Well, no, because... Well, when was... Okay, they never really explained what Zero was supposed to do, because he was sealed away also. Like, was he supposed to wake up 100 years later? Well, it is almost like Capcom didn't care.
Didn't put much thought into the story and just made it up as they went along.
The idea is that Zero wasn't ready when Wily was dying, so he kind of had an auto program finish Zero, and that kind of is what made everything go all haywire fuckery with Zero.
Because Dr. Wily's bad at making robots, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he wouldn't have ever come up with something as good as Ostrich Man anyway. So, you know.
The Battle Ostrich is the best.
It's an interesting what-if sort of thing, though, now that I think about it. Because the entire thing of Reploids is based off of X's design. Say if it was Zero instead.
Like I said, the world probably would have ended before anyone got the chance to actually stop Zero.
You know, the Battle Ostrich thing is funky here, but like
nice to see Espresso still get work though.
In Ark Survival Evolved, though, you're like you can eventually get. This is like the cover image too. You can eventually get to a point where you've got guns, and you also use feathered dinosaurs as mounts. So imagine this played straight. And not the cool, well thought out feathered dinosaurs that you see in artwork either. These are just sort of scaled dinosaurs with feather mohawks added on.
It's a giant chicken.
Lazy. Might as well be.
It's a giant chicken, I tell you.
6-foot turkey, perhaps.
Man.
Now we have cavalry camel.
Well, I mean, there probably were battle camels.
Well, there were. I was saying there were war elephants.
There definitely were war elephants because they were used in some of the Roman wars. I don't know enough about Middle Eastern history to know if there were battle camels, but if there were, that was probably awesome. You know, so
I was drinking. I was moving a mic to take a drink. Cavalry camel.
Does anyone actually ride camels? Because that seems like it would be a very awkward mount.
Well, yeah, because they can survive in the desert.
I think the camel's more for, like... I don't know how much people ride them. I feel like they're kind of more used like donkeys are in Westerns. Yeah, just to, like, carry stuff, you know? Because I doubt that you wouldn't go much faster on a camel than you would walking.
I don't think sitting on the hump would be healthy for the camel, though, considering the function of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay,
got hit by that last bullet.
I am not good at Metal Slug, if you haven't noticed. So yeah.
Nobody's good at Metal Slug. Fortunately, since we don't have to worry about coins, you don't have to be good at Metal Slug anymore.
Yeah.
Away.
Well, I mean, you can be good at Metal Slug, but you theoretically, if you were playing it the way the developers wanted you to, you would have had to put several $1,000s of the machine in quarters in order to get to that point, you know?
Man, you know, the funniest thing about the Dungeons & Dragons arcade game re-release is that one of the unlockables was an advertisement for the game aimed at the shop that would be buying the cabinet rather than the player. So it talks about how many quarters it's going to take.
Well, I mean, that's basically what you were doing for arcade machines. You're selling it to the stores, not the people who were going to play.
I know, but it's a weird case where it feels like an honest trailer played straight. You know?
Watch as you throw quarter after quarter in desperation.
All to save the fair maiden who gives you one kiss and then the credits roll.
Starring.
I really do honestly love those arcade games, though.
The Dungeons and Dragons ones they're very solid beat 'em ups, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, they feel, for the most part, apart from the odd dragon boss fight, they feel like some of the more fair beat-em-up arcade games that I've ever played.
Well, they didn't. I don't think I ever beat it, but I did play a good amount, and it didn't ever feel like they were throwing too many monsters that you couldn't handle, you know? Because that's kind of the cheap way to make a game hard is to just throw 50,000 enemies and be like, okay, yeah, you're not going to beat this without getting
the game kind of makes itself interesting by having replay value rather than by making itself artificially difficult, for the most part. The Red Dragon boss fight being the exception.
Well, to be fair, that's also the why are you fighting this path as well.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of ask for it at this point, although the final boss of the second one has no excuse. The thing about it, though, is like every character that you can play as is very different in terms of how it plays, what kind of spells they have, what kind of combat capabilities they have, and the game really capitalizes on that and the multiple paths to really feel like Dungeons and Dragons. So you want to go back to experience the other characters, not necessarily to just to progress.
So yeah, there's just a random ninja colony underneath the Mayan temple that is also being overrun by plant monsters. There's a lot going on in this game that just does not relate to anything going on in the story.
You know, I think the Plants vs. Zombies creators must have been playing this game one night and they're like, okay, let's just have plants fighting something else from this game, and they listed every enemy, and then they closed their eyes and poked their finger at the paper and landed on zombies.
Yeah, probably. Also, this path is really annoying because the enemies don't die when they die. They hold up dynamite and kill you too. So, big. I love the fork that your knife becomes when you're fat. It's amazing. But yeah, this is, I think, the cooler thing about Metal Slug 3 is discovering all the different hidden pathways. Because I did have a lot of fun finding them all, you know. It's just, I find X more fun to go back and play, you know.
You said they're samurais, but I don't think they're supposed to be samurais. I think that's just the vague impression that their profile gives when you add in the pivot sword.
They're samurai adjacent. Why don't we go with that?
I don't think they're samurais.
They might just be like really thin cutlasses, you know, or sabers of some sort.
Sabers. I would say I get more sabers out of it.
Well, they have the Japanese looking temple at the very beginning, you know, so that's what makes you.
Really, I got more of a.
Well, it has the pagoda looking architecture, you know.
See, I got like an ancient Mayan.
Oh no! There is the level as a whole is Mayan inspired, yes, but right before you start the path that we were just on, there's an empty room that has like a Japanese kind of feel going for it.
Yeah. Well, this looks Japanese.
No, this is Mayan for sure. This guy.
See, I see a dragon head on.
I think he's like specifically called the Sun God, which is one of the.
This just makes me want to play Zuma.
Fear the Sun God.
Also, I hate this is like the worst boss in the game. I hate this guy. He takes hundreds of bullets to kill. Like I think
that spirit animation is damn good though.
Oh no, the sprite animation in this game is beautiful for sure.
Well, specifically the spirit dog things.
Metal Slug's sprite animation is good. The sky is blue, grass is green, water is wet, and my feet hurt at the end of the day.
It's just, this boss takes so much damage.
One of those things is not like the others, Lewis, and I would never buy that water is wet.
Oh, can we not have this argument? Because my brothers actually try to argue that water is not wet to me, and I just am not having that right now.
Wait,
water is.
No, we're not having it.
But
No,
water is wet because it has other water.
Curiosity sake?
Water is wet because it has other water on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you were talking about a single molecule of water in isolation, that statement will always be true.
So, yeah, like, I'm not having this. No. Robert, do your homework if you're watching.
But what if he's watching it during winter break?
And, you know, I'm getting flashbacks now to I almost said Castlevania. Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, where you're on top of the castle.
Oh, yeah, kind of related to that. If you get hit by the giant beam that's coming out of his mouth, you turn into gold coins.
What?
Yeah, I don't know if I get hit by that attack during this playthrough, but you can get turned. I think it's that attack. If you get hit by it, you get turned into gold coins, which I think is they are
like the Midas touch.
I guess I don't know.
The Midas touch would turn you into a gold statue, though, wouldn't it?
Probably, yeah.
Well, it's still gold.
The fact that you're turning into gold is my point, but I still don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, turning into gold coins, that's more of a Mario thing.
Yeah, that is kind of a new Super Mario Brothers 2 thing, you know, where
Or, a No More Heroes thing, if you want to be really silly about it.
Crank that, Theo. Let's go. Thank you. Also, don't hit the Yoshi's Island puffballs, because you will die.
Oh, so you touch Fuzzy, get dead.
I like how when she falls, her hat takes a few seconds to drop.
Also, I hate this path. I hate this path so much.
The maggots.
Okay, so
Maggot.
I've probably told this story on BrainScratch before, but my aunt during the summer has a house near the beach, and one time I was there and she's like, "Hey, can you take the trash out for me?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I go to their they have like a little, not quite a dumpster, but it's just a place where they keep their trash bags before they're supposed to go out in front of the house on trash day. And I go to put the trash bag in there, and there was another one in there, and it had cut open, and it was just, not only was the bag covered in maggots, but the entire inside of that plastic dumpster-shaped object was also covered in maggots, to the point where just opening the lid had some get onto my hands, and it was the worst experience of my entire life, and so I hate maggots now.
Okay, this is after you joined BrainScratch.
No, I was like 13 when it happened.
So the worst moment of your life so far.
Maggots are just one of the most unrepentantly disgusting things on the planet. Like when I see bugs, most of the time I think they either look annoying, gross, or cool. But I mostly don't want to kill them because I have respect for life and all. Maggots, I just can't stand to get near. I wouldn't physically be able to force myself to attempt to kill them.
Depends on the insect, because if you're a water bug or a cockroach inside my house or a fly,
those are classed annoying.
Yeah, those are just classic. But here's the thing. But if I see a cockroach or a water bug outside the house, I'll leave it alone.
Well, that's minding its own damn business.
You see, the people who hate on spiders, I don't get, because those little guys are doing so much for the world, and you're going to try to kill them? All right, no thanks.
It depends on the spider. With Daddy Longlegs, I'll leave alone.
Well, I mean, if it's not one that's venomous and going to eat your brains out, but you're also not going to run into those.
I
Most
don't
people
know
are running
which
into
ones are venomous and not off the top of my head besides the obvious ones.
Also, Daddy Longlegs literally cannot hurt you in any particular way.
Yeah. They're creepy, and they're
I think if
crawly.
it tried to bite you, it would break its teeth on your skin.
Yeah, it literally does not have literally does not have big enough teeth to actually pierce human skin.
So,
Yeah.
one of my favorite Twitter posts is, Scientist 1, we will name this spider Longlegs, after its very long legs. Scientist 2, that's not kinky enough. Also, yes, getting...
Did you just melt?
Yeah, and there's also a very not-so-subtle boob shot where your entire clothes melt away if you're playing as Ari or Theo. So, you know, that's cool, I guess. So, yeah, you can see it right there.
Snails versus slugs.
So do we at least get a dick pic if you're a male character?
Nah. Because this game wasn't targeted at anybody who would want to see that. You know, I mean, granted, women/gay men in the audience, let me know if Marco or Tarma are considered attractive, because I really can't tell. But, yeah. Oh, I guess I changed to Aerie at this point. I don't think I meant to. I did try to be different characters for all the different routes, just because I think I was only Aerie for my playthrough of X, and I wanted to show off all the different characters in 3.
You know, now that I think about it, it's weird. Guys have so little concept of what's attractive, what's masculinely attractive a lot of the time. But I'm pretty sure most women have at least a decent enough grasp of what is attractive for a woman.
The thing is that most guys have relatively the same taste in women.
Yeah, because men are
relatively.
Because men are boring. Not to mention that since so much media is male focused, they see a consistent version of it a lot more. So, as opposed to, we don't really see a lot of examples of what women find sexy, you know? If you do see a quote-unquote sexy man, it's more just what men would like to be as opposed to what women would like a man to be.
It's like, you know, some women like, you know, full beard, some like clean shaven.
Yeah.
Some like they're big guys, some like they're swimmer types.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah.
It's just awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did that plant swallow you to?
And
It swallowed you.
What part of its body contains you after being swallowed? You just sort of disappear somewhere
Let's
around
just
the legs.
assume it's full of acid.
Acid doesn't work that fast.
Well, neither does turning into a zombie, but here we are.
if I knew the songs better, I'd sing something from Little Shop of Horrors.
Now, I kid you not, stomach acid, human stomach acid is one of the strongest acids on the planet. And
yeah,
it doesn't
it's
work
too
that
strong
fast.
because it comes up your freaking esophagus and makes you not able to sleep at night. All right? Heartburn is proof that, yes, there is a God, but no, it is not benevolent. All right?
Humans are like the Windows 95 versions of operating systems. It works, but it has lots of bugs.
Yeah, that's pretty true. Yeah.
We're still waiting for the Windows 98 update.
Yeah.
Oh no, they're gonna skip to ME, aren't they?
But you know, if we're only 95, that means Vista's in the future.
Hey, at least we're better than like DOS.
Yeah, we'll be long dead before we get 7 or.
Would that
XP.
make Neanderthals like Windows 3? Then?
No, Neanderthals
Apple
would be
II.
DOS.
Oh, an Apple II.
Here's the thing about Windows 3. It's not actually an operating system. It just runs on DOS. It's a program. It's not.
Wow.
It's not an operating system. It's just a shell that runs on the operating system.
Wow.
You can actually install Windows on DOSBox. You know,
That's
because of that.
bizarre, but wow, okay.
I mean, it won't have full functionality on DOSBox. DOSBox doesn't support everything that you would need for like the Microsoft Works or whatever. But
The art designers of this damn game is like, we need a unique death animation when they're caught on fire. Oh, come on, boss. Do it.
Well, you know, if they were paid by the frame, they'd be like, oh yes, yeah, I'll make a unique death animation for every enemy.
Frame.
ooh,
Yeah. So if you go right, you skip some rooms, and I didn't want to do another playthrough just to go right. So, yeah, you're welcome.
How long did this take you?
God, no more than like 4 hours.
they brought
or so.
the mummies back.
Here's the thing. Yeah, they did bring the mummies back. Here's the thing. The last stage of the game is easily the longest, but there's no alternate pathways in it, so I only had to replay the first couple of levels. And each playthrough doesn't really take that long because each set of rooms is roughly equal in length. So it only feels longer if you put them back together. You can get through this game in like an hour, even if you're not very good at it.
Oh damn! Being
any one
mummified
playthrough.
in this part is a death sentence, isn't it?
Yeah, because you also don't have a giant blood explosion you can do. You know.
Okay. You almost got crushed, but you were close enough to the end to survive it.
Yeah, although this is probably one of my least favorite pathways in the game. This part's fine. It's the next part coming up that's annoying. So I'll explain why that happens when we get through the...
At least the zombies go down in relatively short order compared to the mummies.
No, the mummies take
compared
less...
to the zombies.
Yeah. You can also, I think, insta-kill the mummies. Well, not insta, but you can get them down with more quickly with the melee attack. Whereas I'm pretty sure the... Okay, that was bizarre. Bouncing off the enemies, getting humified, and then getting mummified again after that. But
also, the mummies can jump.
Yeah,
apparently.
Yeah, they can jump. It's just delayed. Like you do like a wind up before you do, but you can jump fully. Whereas the zombies barely get off the ground. Also, I don't know. I like the mummified version of you crouching because it's just all the bandage.
You just unravel.
It's like you don't actually have legs; they're just sentient bandages.
You still got a strand of hair and a bandana.
You know, that's pretty cool.
That's enough of an identity for you.
Did they actually open the creepy sarcophagus?
Yeah, there was nothing inside.
Aw, lame. There wasn't even like a dead person in there?
No.
Aw.
Mummification is interesting to me, just as a cultural thing.
Well, no, you didn't
These
hear.
are the things I think about when I go to
You
sleep.
didn't hear about the scary sarcophagus, Lewis?
No.
They found a scary sarcophagus on the Blood Moon.
On the what?
On the blood moon.
Yeah.
What, blood moon?
It's a visual thing for how the moon looks.
Like the moon actually becomes red and whatnot.
So they found one on that particular day.
Yeah. And then they open it, and then I remember like a bunch of really weird shit also started happening. It's just like, oh no, you messed with nature.
You messed with the ancient Egyptian curse.
I was gonna say, do we never learn nothing from the mummy?
So
now we have to play a children's card game.
So anyway, this level sucks. So what you need to do right now is you need to kill enough of these plant guys so that they drop batteries, and then take the batteries and put them over here into the rightmost thing. The thing is that if you die, you drop whatever batteries you have, and the batteries go away almost instantly after you defeat the plant, and they overwhelm you, and it's just annoying, and I don't like it.
The elevator has Pac-Man syndrome.
Yeah. I was gonna say, what happened with the elevator?
Why?
Eri decided that she didn't want to go out that way. She wants to use the overcomplicated battery machine instead. So, yeah. But yeah, you can't keep yourself from dying here because you don't get enough power-ups to do so. So, yeah. And then you fight this boss again, and I hate it. So, I'm not showing that again. I also noticed that I had the text box appear way too early there, but whatever.